Well, good morning, everyone. So what are we going to be doing this day? Well, I'm going to try and get rid of the gas smell when I fill up my tank. I've got some tools. I've kind of cleared out my trunk here. I'm going to take it out the rest of the way and show you how we're going to do this. Let me put you on a stand. So we got a couple things here. One is we have a replacement fuel sending unit. The gasket leaks and my sending unit doesn't work very well. I know this is the MP part. Some people really struggle with that, but I've read reviews online, watched other people install them, and it seems to work pretty good. And we've got a gas fume elimination kit for standard type 1 68 to 77. That's what we got here. And this consists of, let's dump it out here. This consists of the hoses for the filler tube, the seals for that also, because these don't seal exactly right because they're kind of rough inside. Let's see if you can see that, how they're kind of rough in there. So we need those little seals to kind of help out with that. And it comes with the breather tube for that also, which can crack, and another gasket for the sending unit. But that's fine. We'll just use the one that came with the MP and see how that goes. But let me get the trunk mat out here and we'll get started. I'll show you how that all goes. All right, first thing we're gonna do here is get the spare tire out. I've got my little studs that hold in the washer tank. And that's a project for another day, the whole washer tank. We're gonna tackle that. It's not hooked up right now because the line obviously has a break in it, and they generally don't work. And we're gonna pull out my trunk mat, and that gets us to the top of our tank where our sending unit is and these hoses. Let me show you that too. Pull you off the stand here, because really these are where the fumes come from. Look at that hose. It's cracked, it's got holes. It's probably not sitting in there right. And then this hose may be cracked also. I don't have a replacement for that. It's going to be super delicate with it. I might not even touch it. We'll see. But these are the two we're going to tackle. But let's tackle the sending unit first and try that out and see what it looks like when we turn on the car. That one's pretty easy. Let me put you back up on the stand. All we're going to do is remove the wire coming in, and they tell you that when you're doing anything electrical to disconnect the battery. I have not. Nothing's on. But I am going to use a hand screwdriver rather than a battery one, because a battery one does make some sparks, and we're moving around fuel here. When I first got this car, the fuel gauge didn't work and the tank had some rust in it. Took everything apart, cleaned it out. I actually cleaned off the sending unit, and it worked kind of periodically, but it has since really stopped working. Don't want to drop these screws down in there, so let's take those off. That's a good idea, Joe. And here's our original VDO sending unit. And I think that was a new gasket, I don't remember. But you can see it's kind of old and rusted a little bit. We'll take it off. Grab a rag. And we will wipe stuff away from our hole. Okay. Just make sure that our holes are lined up on the new one. Kinda. It simply just slides in. And it came with a little baggie with new screws. And these screws have little seals on the top that you should get on there also. It doesn't look like there's a top or bottom on them or anything. Get this. And we want to line this up with a hole. That's not a hole. The old one, these little seals on the top were crushed down flat. I don't know if we're supposed to crush these down flat or not. I'm going to lightly tighten in a star pattern. I also purposely ran the tank down a ways before we started this. I have a big grip. I can easily over tighten things, so I'm taking it fairly easy on these guys. I want to split one of those little plastic washers because I know I can do it. I'm going to guess that that's tight enough. I think there's just slightly less than a half gallon in here. The only thing I don't like, the old gauge, the connector here was kind of protected. It had plastic ridges on either side. This is just kind of sitting up, so anything sitting in the trunk is going to sit on that, and it could short out underneath if it really got bent down. So we'll watch an eye, keep an eye on that also. But let's go in the car. Take you off the stand here. So next, we'll tackle this guy over here. And I don't know if we need to, where are we at? Here we go. I don't know if we need to remove that filler a little bit, or if that's even possible. If it just kind of comes out a little bit. I've done it by just sliding these guys up to get the tank in and out. I don't want to take the tank out. So let's loosen everything up and do some experimentation, shall we? Sounds good. Some of these kits come with clamps, some don't. This one I got from CIP1. It does not come with the clamps. I think the Wolfsburg comes with clamps, but these clamps are the German clamps, and they all seem pretty good. So we'll try that. Let me open up the fuel door here. And there is a screw in the fuel door. Let me pull you around here. There's one screw right here that I think I'll pull out and see if this gives me a little bit of slack. We'll try it. And if not, we'll try something different. I think there's that screw. Oh, that just holds in our release lever, which is good to know, but does nothing for my being able to move this around. This all looks pretty sealed in here. I'm gonna guess that's a no. Put my fuel door release back though. It was not intended at all. There we go. Okay. I don't think there's anything in here. That's gonna help us. I could be wrong, but so what I've done then is just start this metal piece in the middle here. I start working it up and wiggling it. And the same with the hoses until I can kind of get this all off like this. Yeah, it's kind of tight still. There we go. And all the seals, that seal strip I was talking about, they're all gone from in here. Some dirt under here. I'm gonna vacuum too. Yeah. And this is a little lever for the flap adjustment on one of the vents. Oh, and eggs. Good. Insect eggs. All right. So we've got this all off. We got our tube here. That's really all we need. It kind of goes this direction. And I should have paid more attention to that. What did I do? Something about like that. I don't think there's a right or left. Nope. But on our new setup, we've got to get those seals on there. Because, again, like I showed you, these are kind of rough on the inside. But you can see how cracked and broken these old hoses are. They're no good. I'm going to take our rag again. I'm going to just run it around these surfaces. Now there's gas fumes. This is the vent hose. Comes from that side. This is a kind of a a collection tank, and all of this is supposed to go to the charcoal canister that should be in the back, and it's not. I'm just gonna leave this here. I thought about taking it out just to give me that much more trunk space, but doesn't bother me too much, so I'm just gonna leave it in here for right now. I'm gonna grab my vacuum and suck this out a little bit, clean it up, and then I'll bring it back. Okay, we're a little bit cleaner now. I'm debating, do I want to try and pull this hose off up here? I think I do. I've had this off before because I replaced the tank a couple times. I've never had it off up here. That's kind of our overflow dealie. Yeah, that needs to be done. They didn't include this hose, just this one up here. For whatever reason, we're gonna get this off without breaking this ancient vent line here. Okay. And clamps. Almost at the end of the clamp. I am at the end of the clamp. Is it not supposed to clamp on there? That one does. Have to mess with that one a little bit. Bigger? No. Just started. You know what? I'll make taking the stuff off and on, because the more you mess with it, the bigger danger you've got of screwing something up. All right, just a second. Okay, so that clamp won't go on there. It's a vent, I think it's okay. I'm gonna put this one on though. And we've got to get this on in a tough position. Oops, let me do that clamp. Okay. Just because this hose was so crusty, it's cracking, and you can tell it's bad. Okay, so we got that one on. Did you come undone too? really. So neither of those clamps are big enough to fit. Let's see if I can get this kind of started. Kind of maybe. So I'm gonna have to come back with some bigger hose clamps on that. They don't tell you that. All right, I'll go buy a couple hose clamps at the store here. But we want to put these seals, and these are like rubber bands. And what these do is they just smooth out that inside. And I had them on here, they were just old and bad. And they, I don't know if the hoses are a different size or what, but I think these are just to make sure you get a good tight seal in there with your thumb. There we go. I want to get it down past the lip is my strategy. Yeah, I think that works. And the same on the tank end. Like I said, when I took this out, it had some, but they were worn out. They just fell off. These are nice and rubber bandy. So I was worried, you know, putting this on that I was going to have trouble getting that up in there, but I don't think I'm going to have any trouble at all. Well, he says that. These hoses are tight. Come on. So the trick is you gotta get this over, keep the rubber band integrity also. I wonder if I just need a little bit of grease in there. This is fuel-proof hose, so should it be grease-proof also? Probably, but that goes on. Oh, see, I rolled that one. I'll do some experimenting. There we go. Okay, that's slid. And we're going to go that way with this hose. I gotta stand up for a second. So I'll show you up close here. This hose will go on, and it does slide over the rubber bandy thing. Let's see if I can do it. Ow. But I want the rubber bandy thing, you know, up here fairly snug. I'm trying to do this so you can see it. There we go. Oh, had it. There it is. And you just want to make sure that it slides over the rubber bandy thing too. I'll keep working on it. I'll bring you back. Okay, what you need to do is get the rubber band part here on your center hose and on your filler and all that. Get it fairly close to that lip, and it's actually pretty slick. It slides pretty easily, and we want to get this slid on far enough so that we can get past these two choke points also. See, I got that one on without it folding at all. I'm gonna pull this one down to where I can see that. And the same on this lower one. At the same time, putting it over the filler hose. I think we can do it. It just takes some wrestling. You'll get it. Put your hose clamps on first. Just need to undo my hose clamp. And bring it back around. There we go. Not a big deal. We just went the added step of adding a new fuel level sender. Replace this hose. I'll get a couple clamps for that up there, but it's snug on there, so it's going to seal just fine. I'll get a little bit longer clamp, but that's it. That's how it goes. The only other thing is perhaps this hose, and maybe this fitting is cracked on yours, but I don't think every 68 and up, this configuration was exactly the same. So they've included some parts for other things. But we got our seals in there, we got our clamps on, we got new fuel grade hose, and that should get rid of any fumes in here when I fill the tank up. I'm going to bring you back when I get this buttoned up, and I'm going to show you some other things in the car today too. So there's been a few things I've done underneath the hood here that I haven't really shown you. I replaced some of the defrost ducting that was bad. And I was going to do a video on that because I started digging into the air box. I've got a new seal for here, but inside there, I don't know if you can see them, but there's little flaps. Those little flaps are controlled down here. Where is it? That little gear guy down there. That's from inside, and that opens and closes those flaps. If they're open, they let fresh air in this way, in theory, and give you some cross ventilation in the car. When they're closed, that pushes the warm air out the defrost vents up top. Here's the problem. I've got the sponges, the seals for those flaps, but this whole box is put together with plastic welds. They left a tab out there and just melted it down. So I need to heat that up and pop it out, open up this box, put the pads in, close this back up again, and I imagine I'm going to use hot glue or just an iron again, solder iron, just to plug those back up. At the same time, I'm going to get underneath here and I'm going to clean up those gears and oil that a little bit. And I'm going to take the radio out, redo the light in it, and just clean up the electronics in it a bit. It works great, but the tuner's a little bit shaky. At the same time that I'm doing all that, I might as well pull out the windshield and replace the 3 vents along the dash that I have. So that's like an all-day thing. We got the windshield, the ducting, the defrost, and everything else to set back up. Also, I do have the original reservoir for the washer, and I've got some new hose for that. It's 2.5 millimeter hose, if you need to know that. It's the same as the vacuum line on the Vacuum Advanced distributor. It's not 3 millimeter, it's 2.5. It's supposed to fit snug, and it does. I'm going to be one of the few people in history that's attempted to get their washer fluid actually working. I don't know if I've ever seen one working, but I want to try it. And to get to all that, you got to take all this out. So it's not that big of a deal. It's kind of an all-in-one thing, and get all of this buttoned up together. Probably going to take a whole weekend. So I really want to do that, and I want to make a video about it, getting all that working. The other thing that I need to do is paint. I need to finish the paint. I've got the paint. I've got all the supplies and all the equipment to do it. I just need to get to sanding, cleaning up stuff, going through this not original primer, but this primer that's on here. There's some drips and fingerprints and other stuff. The company that did this wasn't the greatest, but they got it buttoned up anyway. There's a whole new rear clip back here, or a quarter panel that they put in from another vehicle. But I want to get the Volkswagen to all one color, so I'm going to do that. That's another couple week project. I'll start sanding and primering, getting this all set up, and then I'll take a weekend and do the paint and probably let it cure for a week or so. And I'm using single stage, and let it harden up, and then we'll put it back together and polish and everything. So that's the next big project. But I've got to take out the windows. I've got pop outs that I want to put in the rear quarter lights here, and I guess they're not quarter lights, the rear lights, and then the rear window. I've got a new seal and everything for that. And so it's kind of step by step. You got to take the windows out. I can do the paint, and while I'm doing that, I'm going to fix the headliner back here and put in the new carpet and pad in the back. So I've got to get the windows out, paint, put in the headliner and carpet. Maybe not the carpet's necessary for that, but then put the new window seals and the pop outs, and it's all kind of done. But I'm looking at about a month of work total for all of that, I think, in the evenings and weekends. So I want to enjoy the car a little bit first, so I decided after Memorial Day sometime is when I'll start doing that. So there's the update. But now we're not going to have gas fumes, so that's awesome. I think the carpet stinks a little bit like gas. That'll air out eventually. I took a drive yesterday. It didn't smell like gas at all, so we're good there. And we'll get this all buttoned up, back together. And please be sure to like, share it forward, send it to someone. Hey, I saw this cool video on how to get rid of gas fumes in the trunk of my Beetle. This guy did pretty good. If I didn't do pretty good, let me know. Comment. Tell me so. And we'll just keep sharing on this adventure. Have a great day, guys. Enjoy your weekend. Old clamp. New clamps.